Welcome back to another edition of the Talking National League podcast, episode 42. It is on this Thursday evening. It's a game week that you want to tune in for, especially because of some of the games that we are going to be previewing tonight. I've been looking forward to this all day. We're not joined by Paul tonight, he couldn't make it, but instead we are joined by Tom Williams, an equally as good replacement. You can't get any better replacement out there. Tom, firstly, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, mate. Glad it's the weekend, extended weekend. Looking forward to 2 games in 4 days. Pretty good. So yeah, pretty excited.
Yeah, you'll be hoping that Halifax can take points off Wrexham, won't you, tomorrow? But do you want to give your page a plug? As I know, I can't highly rate it enough. I think a lot of people who are in the chat will know about yourself, as you're well known in non-league now. But for anyone who doesn't know, do you want to tell them basically what you do?
Yeah, so you can probably, I don't know if you can see it there. It's Tom. Oh god, there you go. Tom H Williams 23 on Twitter. Yeah, I do mainly sort of threads on there, so sort of tactical analysis of the league, transfers, stats, lots of data in there. So yeah, cover the whole league. Obviously, I support Notts, but I like to cover every single team. So yeah, there you go.
Yeah, of course, you made an appearance on local radio, didn't you, last night with Colin and Richard? I did tune into that.
Yeah, no, that was great. Yeah, on BBC Nottingham. Yeah, that was really cool. First time I've been on something like that, so that was really, really good. But equally happy to be on here tonight as well.
Yeah, brilliant. That's what we do like to hear. Just for myself, a bit of plugging here. Please remember to like and subscribe if you haven't already. It does go a long way. We're over 1,000. We have been a couple of weeks now on the road to 1,100. There is a button now, and I don't want to beg here, but you can donate to the channel if you would like to support us any further. Just for tuning in, you do actually basically give us money, to be honest. But if you want to support the channel any further, then you can do. There'll be some sort of donation button that you can put in there. On a bit more sad news, though, I do want to mention this. Noah, who was a Halifax fan, age 19, has passed away from cancer. There'll be a minute's applause for any Wrexham fans and Halifax fans who are tuning in on the 19th minute tomorrow, and also there'll be buckets going around so you can donate. You can donate basically to cancer research. So yeah, if you do want to do that, you'll be there. If any Wrexham or Halifax fans are there tomorrow, then please feel free to do so. Yeah, we'll have a look at the live chat, then see what people have been saying, and then we'll get on with the predictions. So Zach and Ian are here. Zach is a Bromley fan. Welcome to the stream. Welcome, Ian. Ian said, Luke, are you going to do us a massive favour tomorrow and take points off Wrexham? Hoping so, Ian, hoping so. Zach's coming. Ian, is there anyone else who really worries you for playoffs if that's where you would finish? Just want Wrexham and Notts out of this league, no offence. I think we can sort of all agree, because if one of you don't get promoted this season, I think everyone's thinking that you're just going to get promoted next season. Hiccups here as an Aldershot fan. Look at those. Maybe don't say that, Kobe. A little cringeworthy. Someone said, hello, Mr. Walton Williams. Now I totally mean there isn't pressure to get these predictions right. Hope you are well. Dale said, evening all. Welcome. Someone said, Luke, do us a favour. Tell the Halifax players to flop over for the mighty Reds. Unfortunately, I can't do that. And then Ian's coming. Mr. BBC Nottingham Show, Tom, so we'll catch that back. And then Marcus is coming. I think that's Marcus, yeah. I don't see Wrexham dropping points. Anything can happen, but that match is too important. You can come in with your topics, questions, whatever you would like to say about the National League. These are the predictions league at the moment. 41 to 39. Tom, you'll be wanting to regain the guests league, won't you?
Yeah, definitely. Let's see if we can get back on top for the guests. It's pretty close, two-way, and hopefully a couple of correct scores will swing it.
Yeah, hopefully. It's certainly, like I've mentioned, it is a really interesting game week. I don't know if it's just me because of who, of course, we're playing, but we've got this to show throughout tonight. If you do want to take a look, we've got that, and then we've also got the predictions to look at. So without any further ado, let's have a look at the table. So Wrexham not to top, as you still expect. The playoffs, I don't think have changed. Bromley are looking strong, though. They could break into the playoffs after a comfortable win against Solihull. And then I'd probably say, I don't know if you'd agree with this, Tom, Southend, Wealdstone, even Solihull, I think are all out of the playoff race. Or do you think there's still a slight chance they can make it in?
No, I agree with you. I think it's top 8 now. I think, unfortunately, it's going to be only one team that's going to be really disappointed. They're going to miss out. I think it's going to be top 8 now. I don't think 9 downwards can really get in there. And I think we're going to go on to the bottom in a minute, so I won't spoil that. But yeah, for me, Bromley are the only team that aren't in the playoffs now that can get in.
Yes, Southend. I think if you were a Southend fan, you'd be very, very disappointed because the majority of the season you've been 5th, 6th in the playoffs comfortably, and you've just had a horrendous amount of form that's let you down. A good win against Yeovil, but I think it's too late now for them to get back into the playoffs. You know, that's what happens in this division. You have a bad run of form any time in the season and you're falling out of these playoff places. Further down then, mid-table hasn't much changed. The bottom 6 or 7 has, though. I think relegation is coming to place now. It's been something that throughout the season there's not been. I think there's been Maidstone and the rest. It could have been anyone's game to survive. Now it feels like it's coming to place. I did work out projected that you need 48 points to survive this season. So Aldershot, if they're wanting to survive, they'll need about 5. This is just based off Yeovil's form, your Aldershot's form at the moment. But someone like Scunthorpe, after that defeat against Torquay, they could probably win every single game and it wouldn't guarantee them safety. That's just how far it is now, the gap between safety and going down this season.
Yeah, to me, obviously Maidstone already gone, confirmed. Scunthorpe are also, I'm afraid to say, that for me, they're gone. And unless they have a massive turnaround, you're at the point now where they need to win 6 out of 6. 5, isn't it? If they play, so 5 out of, they need to win all the games. It's not going to happen. Torquay have won a couple on the bounce, so they are the only team I can see getting out of it, and Aldershot are the only team I can see being dragged into it. I think Dorking and Gateshead are both safe now. Gateshead have got games in hand, they're in form. Yeovil are gone for me, and I predicted that at the start of the season, so it is looking like it's going to come true. But Torquay is the only team I can see getting out. But to be honest with you, I think it's the bottom 4. I think that it will finish as it is.
I'd agree with you on that. You know, we will go on to predicting the games and things, but I look at Scunthorpe and I say they're down because they have to win every game. And I look at those games and I don't think they can. I don't think they've proven they're good enough to survive this season. Even with that, you know, the takeover and the players that they've brought in, they've still been, in my opinion, quite poor. Torquay, another side, I think simply lack quality. I know they've had 2 good wins, but they've been low-scoring, tight wins, and I'm not taking that away from them because a win's a win, but I still don't think they've got enough. And Yeovil are in bad form at the wrong time, so I think they could also be going down this season. And I look at all 4 clubs there, and I think at the start of the season, and I don't think anyone expects to go down, but I think Scunthorpe, Torquay and Yeovil didn't expect to be in a relegation battle, and Maidstone were probably hoping to survive as well. And it's funny how it's planned out, hasn't it?
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeovil and Scunthorpe were 2 I had an eye on at the start of the season just because of the simple lack of quality in their teams. And I got a little bit of stick for the Yeovil prediction pre-season. And to be honest with you, if their squad was what it is now at the start of the season, I wouldn't be putting them anywhere near the relegation. So it's really poor that they are where they are. But at the start of the season, they had a really poor squad. And the same can be said for Scunthorpe. Again, they've added some real quality. But it just goes to show that adding your players in the summer, that's when it's most important, because adding players midway through a season, they've got to click, and they've got to click quickly, because if they don't, you're still going to go down. I think Yeovil and Scunthorpe are probably 2 of the sides that have added the most quality towards the back end of the transfer window, but it's too little too late, and I think they're both gone. Torquay wouldn't have expected this, but again, underwhelming business in the summer. The business, it all comes back to that, and they wouldn't have expected it. They would have been hoping to build on previous good seasons, but they look like they are going to be really struggling if they,
Yeah, just below 50 people watching at the moment. If you have just tuned in, please remember to like and subscribe. But just on that, what you were mentioning there, we reviewed our prediction, didn't we, a couple of months ago now. I think we both said I think I definitely said Maidstone to go down. Scunthorpe, I wasn't expecting them to. I thought that the quality in the squad, I still felt at the start of the season was enough to survive. I think I put them something like 15th. Torquay, I think we were probably a bit naive with that prediction, and we did mention that because I remember us both saying I don't think anyone was too impressed with their business at the start of the season, but I thought we just thought, Torquay, that they're always fine. They'll just be mid-table again. And I think Torquay fans would have been disappointed with that. I think we both predicted them Torquay to finish 14th, but I think now we probably both agree that we were wrong with that, and probably we should have thought a bit more when we saw how bad the players that they brought in were, to be honest, compared to the players that they've lost. And Yeovil, for you, I think it's been a perfect prediction. I think that's the prediction of the season, to be honest, predicting Yeovil in 21st, because that's where I think they will finish. But I still think Aldershot, they could be catchable. They're another side out of form at the wrong time. I think it'll totally depend how this new manager bounce happens. I don't know if it works, if it doesn't. I think Aldershot could fall into it. But no, at the moment, if I was to predict the table, I'd be going with what it is in the bottom four. And I think Gateshead, Dorking and Halifax have all proven they're good enough to survive this season. We'll have a look at all the games then by round. There we are, have it. Where do you want to start then, Tom?
I don't mind, to be honest. Up to you. I don't mind where we start. We can either go through
Let's go.
in order, or you can.
So we go to Solihull v Maidenhead, because that's probably one of the. No disrespect to any of these clubs, but this is probably one of the less crucial fixtures, I'd probably say, in the league. Both sides mid-table. Maidenhead, I think, 14th, and Solihull are 1st. It's something like that. Solihull can't get into the playoffs, and Maidenhead are safe from relegation. Firstly, how do you see this game going?
For the prediction, I've gone 2-1 Solihull. And again, this is just based on the home advantage. And like you said, it's two teams that are now playing for not a lot. To be honest, there's not a lot at stake for either of these two sides. Both mid-table. Not much difference in them quality-wise, I don't think. I say I've just gone for Solihull having that home advantage. Gone 2-1. I think it'll be a tight game, but it's like you said, it's probably the only game this weekend where neither side have got much to play for. So it's more now about players putting themselves in the shop window if they're looking for a move, or looking to confirm to the manager that they want to be in their plans next season. So, I think it'll be a close game. Could go either way. I've just gone for Solihull to edge it.
I think this game screams goals for me. I'm going for a 3-2. Of course, Solihull 4-0 defeat to Bromley. They'll be wanting to bounce back from that. To me, that confirmed them not getting into the playoffs this season. And Maidenhead, of course, got a good point against Chesterfield. I don't think Chesterfield have ever beaten Maidenhead since they were relegated to this division. So, I'll be going 3-2 for that game. But I think we do have to give Maidenhead a lot of credit, because we both predicted them I think, bottom of the league at the start of the season. And that's proven out to be fairly wrong, to be honest. But I think they prove everyone wrong every single season. Every season we always look at Maidenhead and say, they're part-time, or you look at the players on paper, or they lost Josh Kelly. Of course, he'll be playing against Maidenhead as well, but they're probably going to go down. They lack the quality. But I think Alan Devonshire, just having a manager like that who knows this division off the back of his hand, goes a long way. And that's why Maidenhead have survived once again this season. Where do you want to go then? Do you want to go to Southend v Maidstone?
Yeah, I think that's the other game, isn't it? That is not got too much at stake in that one. Yeah, let's go there.
Yeah, for me, I looked at Southend and I thought that they looked pretty good against Yeovil. To be fair, away from home, Yeovil, of course, on a bit of a downward spiral at the moment, but they got the job done there and they needed that win after being off form. Maidstone are down. They're not really putting up much of a fight, and although they are down, but they're not showing, I think, any pride, to be honest. In themselves, in the way that they've played on the field, because if you were a Maidstone supporter, you'd be very disappointed with this season, and to go down in that fashion against Bournemouth would be very, very disappointing. Losing 4-0 on home turf to any side is very disappointing. But now going somewhere like Southend, away from home. I think I'd back Southend in this game. I think it'd be a comfortable win for them. I thought they looked quite good against Yeovil, so I'm going for a 3-0 win. The likes of Powell, I like the look of him as well. So, yeah, I think a 3-0 win, and Jake Hyde, of course, is getting back on the score sheet now. What would your take be on this game?
Yeah, to be honest, I'll just echo what you've said. Maidstone, I feel for them because they've got some good players and they've put in some okay performances at times. They've had some luck go against them, but at the end of the day, they're down already. And like I say, for their players, it's now for them. It's about playing for a move in the summer, or you're playing to get back in the manager's plans. It's either or. And for Southend, yeah, they've still got an outside chance at the playoffs, but it's a very, very outside chance now.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so for me, I've gone for 2-0 Southend. I've pretty much gone the same way as you have. There's not much else to say on that one. I think they'll win at home, bounce back. They've got their bad run of form. I think they were quite lucky. They'd had Yeovil and Maidstone to turn it around, because if they had two other tougher games, who knows what their form would be looking like. But yeah, Southend to win comfortably, I think.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how Maidstone, their business goes in the summer, and how if they do bounce back from the National League South. I think if it does pan out with Torquay, Maidstone and Yeovil, they're three big clubs in there who I'd expect to be up there next season in the National League South. They'd certainly bring a lot of quality to that division, in my opinion. But it's going to be interesting to see if they do bounce back like they previously have done. Next game then that we will have a look at. I like the look of this game because, like you've mentioned, in my opinion, I think Torquay are down. Some people will disagree. There's always that hope, isn't there, for Torquay United fans, especially with recent performances. They're playing against an Eastleigh side that, on paper, you'd think would beat them, but Eastleigh's away form isn't too pretty compared to their home form. I think it's an opportunity to look at the graph as well on this one as well, just to look at Torquay and Eastleigh's form away from home on that one. Tom, how do you see this game going?
I've gone for 0-0. It's the only game I've gone for 0-0 for. Like you said, it's going to be a closer game, I think, than people will expect. Torquay had a couple of decent results. They'll have a bit of confidence behind them. And they're now in a position where they still need to win most games, but they haven't got to win every single one. I think a point would be against a promotion hopeful would be quite a good point. Same with Eastleigh. They need points at this point of the season because Bromley are going to be hot on their heels. But I just think they'll cancel each other out. I think it'd be a close game. Neither side wants to lose. Both obviously in pretty decent form now with Torquay picking up a couple of results. So I've gone for 0-0 because I think it'd be a cagey game. And both, Eastleigh have got a really good defence. Torquay have shown that they improved defensively. So I think they'll keep it up in this game.
I think if I was a Torquay fan, I'd be saying they do have to win every single game, like Scunthorpe do, although they had that win. They seem to be scrapping out results, defending very well recently as well. I do think that defence is a strong defence and is a false position for where they are. And you look at the likes of Ellis, who's at the back from, of course, you'll be well aware of him when he was at Notts County. And they've got Jarvis now, who's been scoring a lot of goals and has probably been their player of the season. Frank Nubele as well, who's up top. He's got a lot of experience in the Football League. Am I correct? I think he did score the other week, didn't he, as well, for Torquay? I might be incorrect there. Was that 1-0 win before Scunthorpe? It's gone right out of my head now. But I do look at this run to the end of the season and I find that interesting. I look at Eastleigh at home, and the light green basically means that you need to win because it's a 15th to 19th place, and you need to be beating those sides to stay up this season. They've of course got Wrexham on the last game of the season. That'll be a very interesting one, in my opinion, if it's a chance for Torquay to survive or Wrexham to get promoted. Of course, on paper, you'd be saying, well, Wrexham will just win that, the difference in quality, but it doesn't always work out like that. They've got a Chesterfield side to play as well. In my opinion, I think they'll get it here. Home turf, the crowd will be up for it because of the last two results. Back on home turf, like I've mentioned, I'm going to go for a 1-0 win. Eastleigh aren't too good away from home either, so yeah, I'm going to be backing Torquay in this one, which may come to a bit of a surprise, but I'd say a 1-0 win once again. We'll go back to the next game then that we'll have a look at now. Where do you want to go then?
Let's go Dorking, Woking. Similar game. A team down near the bottom against a team in the playoffs. Let's go for that.
Yeah, how do you see this one going?
I've actually gone for a draw, I believe. I think I've gone for 1-1. 1-1, Dorking, Woking. Might be surprised to some because obviously Woking at the right end of the table. They're right up at the top, but they're not in the greatest of forms. They're a side who, even though they are in the top 3-4 and have been for most of the season, they do have a tendency to drop a few points here and there in games you perhaps wouldn't expect it. And Dorking have been in unbelievable form. They played at Meadow Lane. They played really well, and then since then they've taken that. They've taken confidence from that performance against us, and they've gone and turned it into some really really strong results, especially at home. The 4G pitch, but also the fact that they've stuck to how they play. They've not changed things. They've kept the faith, stuck with the players. And they've turned it around, and for me, they're safe. I know you said earlier projected 48. I think if Dorking, like you say, I think they need to pick up 2 points, don't they, for the projected thing, but they're definitely safe for me, 100% safe. And I think they'll get a point here. I think they're full of confidence. Woking obviously need the points as well. They want that home tie in the playoffs. They want to finish third. But I think they're going to run into a really tricky team in Dorking. And maybe 1-1, I'm being conservative with the goals. Maybe there'll be a few more. But yeah, I think they'll cancel each other out. And due to the form that Dorking are in.
I've gone for a bit more of a mad prediction, and I am backing Woking in this one. I'm going for a 3-2 win to Woking away from home. I think this is, if I'm correct, I think this is actually a sellout crowd from both ends as well. I think Woking have taken over 1,000 and Dorking have sold out the home section. So this will be quite an interesting game, in my opinion. Dorking, though, just on them, although I've predicted them to lose this match, you look at them and how they start the season, they were very strong. They're looking at the surprise team, which they have been, I think, throughout the season. As the motto says, you never write off the Wanderers, and you certainly don't. But they had that bit of form, didn't they, where I think they were one place above relegation, and we were saying, it's Dorking or Gates, and it's going to be one of those teams that's going to go down. And both sides have improved significantly. And, Dorking now, we're going into this game thinking they can actually get something from it. It screams goals. I think the additions that Dorking made in January, I think Jason Pryor came back, was a massive return, a signing, in my opinion, and the return that he made as well. McShane as well, who they've got, Ryan Seeger as well. There's a lot of goals in that Dorking side. And I think Woking going away from home, they've been a bit inconsistent as well. But I think because it's such a must-win game for Woking, I can't see them not winning this. I'm going to go for a 3-2. Woking will. We'll have a quick look at the live chat, and then we'll go back to the predictions. Emma said, "Come on, Wrexham tomorrow at Halifax, and Notts at home Monday. This squad is relentless, and we'll be up for it, no doubt about that." Yeah, I'm looking forward to tomorrow. David is also, I think, a Wrexham fan. Watching your must-see show in the only way to prepare for the weekend. As an American fan, I hope that both Wrexham and Notts County go up. That's the only sane and fair outcome. Yeah, it definitely is. It'll feel so wrong if one of those don't get promoted this season. And I think it'd force a change next season. Would you agree with that, Tom?
Yeah, I think it'd be injustice is perhaps a strong word, but it would seem extremely unfair that a side that are going to finish, unless Notts lose every single game, they're going to finish with 100 points plus, and Wrexham already got 100 points plus. If it would feel completely unfair that a team that finishes with over 100 points won't get promoted. And I think even if both do go up this season, I think the conversation to have an extra automatic promotion spot needs to be had, because, I'm not saying that this season's going to happen again, but it makes it the margins are so tight at the top when you only have one team to go up. It makes the pressure ridiculous. So I think it's only fair that carries through to this division.
There's been so many missed opportunities as well for teams to get promoted who feel that they should be in the Football League. We look at Halifax last season, that third spot that I think everyone was hoping for. In the playoffs, it could have been a different story for the likes of Solihull as well. I also look back to Torquay, and this is something that Torquay fans won't be wanting to be reminded of, but them getting to the playoff final, them and Sutton, I believe, and I think it might have been Hartlepool as well. I think there was a bit of a gap. Them and Sutton were miles ahead of everyone else that season. It was Torquay, Sutton, and then I think Sutton had a good end to the season, and Torquay fell off a bit. That season, Torquay United should have got promoted. They got to the final. They were a bit unfortunate. A lot of controversial decisions on that day, I think we'll be all aware of, and unfortunately did lose that game to Hartlepool. But you look at that and you think, well, Torquay, if it wasn't for the only one automatic promotion, Torquay would be in the Football League now, and we probably wouldn't have seen them again for a number of seasons, where now they're looking like they're going to go down to the National League South. And that's just something to also add, as well as this season. It's been happening every single season where there should be more sides getting promoted as well. Even this season, Wrexham would be in the Football League now if it wasn't for the one automatic spot, and not to have their opportunity this season to get promoted a little bit more easier. But then again, I do think it makes the league more entertaining. I think as a neutral, you love the fact that only one team gets up automatically. The only other division where it has this fierce title race would probably be the Premiership, and that's boring anyway. We'll all agree with that, who's tuning into this. But yeah, let's move on anyway from that conversation. Someone said, last chance to lean for Scunthorpe against us. Yeah, it certainly is. They'll be needing, I don't even think a point would be good enough for them at your place. Joe, who's a Chesterfield fan, said, do you think Barnet were suffering a bit from cup hangover on Monday, or do you think they're copying Chesterfield from last year by hitting poor form at the worst time? What's your opinions on that, Tom?
To be honest with you, I think a slump for Barnet was always going to be inevitable. Sort of their underlying data I had a look at last week, they've been strong, but they have been overperforming all season. And don't get me wrong, Dean Brennan has done a brilliant job there, and he's got a really strong first 11. I just think with injuries, the squad depth has been lacking at times, especially defensively. They had a really settled back four. And in that time, they went on this ridiculous run where they barely conceded. And then a few injuries to that back four completely unsettled them. And since then, they've not really been the same since. They've been a bit hit and miss. And I think I've told his hands up and say he got it wrong at the weekend. He went for two sides that neither were his strongest 11. So he's kind of gone, 75% strength in both games. He's not committed to. I think what he needs to do, really, in hindsight is a wonderful thing, but I think you need to either commit to the trophy or commit to the league, and he's sort of tried to spread his squad across both, and it's backfired. So I think it's a combination of both. I think they can turn it around. They've got some brilliant quality, and they're one of the sides, they're going to finish in the playoffs, and it's now for them about picking up some form going into those playoffs, because they've got a very good chance of going up, because on their day, they can beat anyone.
Yeah, they certainly can. They gave Notts a tough game in both fixtures, didn't they? And I think they are going to give Wrexham one as well. But yeah, like I've mentioned, I think that's the problem, isn't it? When you've got a thin squad, you're caught in two minds if you're in multiple competitions. Boreham Wood had that last season when they win the FA Cup too, and committing to the FA Cup was sort of their downfall, I think. In their playoff race and their hope for promotion. Ian said, Joe, Barnet score surprised me, but I think that is a blip. Yeah, they do need to regain form if they're wanting to cause any upset in the playoffs. John has come in and said, anyone else think both Notts and Wrexham going to break the point records this season? Because I'm new to this, but isn't the record 106? Yeah, who was it? I'm trying to think who it was now. Was it Bristol? Cheltenham, I think it was, who got the record. I think that was like 2012, 2013. But yeah, definitely both sides will break the record, in my opinion. Tom, I think you'd agree with that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I think both sides. I think both sides will break it, and probably the winner will break it by quite a big margin, I think. And the winner, the record set this season will probably be a record that I think will stand for a little bit longer than the previous one. And that's the point as well you said about before about the two promotion spots coming in. I think you would see less sides getting hundreds of points, because as much as I'm not saying that Notts and Wrexham wouldn't have had good seasons this season, but the fact that neither of them can afford to drop points, whereas if you've got two promotion spots and you're already sort of 10 points clear of the third, you're not as motivated to dig deep in the 90th minute to get a winner. So I think that record will stand for a while, especially if the third promotion spot comes in. And I think that record, I'm not going to say it'll never get broken, but it'll be a long time, I think.
I think it won't be called the Vanarama National League by the time that record will be broken again, to be honest. But yeah, I think like you've seen with the Premiership and Championship, sides will just take the foot off the gas. You know, at this point now, Wrexham and Notts would be promoted. I think would they be mathematically promoted? I think they would now. If it wasn't for them only being, one promotion spot. And I don't think that'd be the case if it was, 2 promoted spots going up. We've also had Tom, who is a Solihull fan, 2-0 Solihull win. Yeah, you'll be hoping so. Some good form at the end of the season will be crucial for that rebuild next season. Dale said it's 105 set by Crawley in 2016. Oh, yeah, it was Crawley. And then the Dorking bloggers coming. Hopefully a good game versus Woking tomorrow. Yeah, if anyone is watching wants to find some Dorking vlogs, or if there's any Woking fans, have a look at his channel. I'm sure I'll be doing a vlog on tomorrow's game too. See if there's any more. 2 top lads. Cheers, Charlie says, love the streams, lads, brilliant. And then we've had the Maidstone fan, who every single stream seems to turn up. So fair play to you. It must be difficult at the moment. Sam Bourne has also signed for us next season, so a huge boost in the long term. Yeah. And then someone's I'm big fan of your work. Yeah, cheers, Lewis, for tuning in. Let's get back to the predictions then. Let's have a look at what we've got next then. I want to keep, just to make everyone aware, I want to keep this game till last because I'll be able to talk about that for more or less an hour, but we won't be doing it that long. But where do you want to go next, Tom?
Let's go Chesterfield, York, because we just spoke about Woking, and the battle for third place is between Chesterfield and Woking, in my opinion. So it makes sense to go there.
Yeah, I think York, if it wasn't for that win against Barnet, they may have been added into that relegation scrap. But I think because of that win, I think we're saying that they're virtually safe now. I don't know, do you think that there's a chance that they could drop down? In my opinion, no, because I think they've proven that they've been good enough by beating sides like Barnet.
Yeah, I had them a few weeks ago to see the drop, and I got stick for that. That was just purely because they've got a really tough running, and including the Barnet game. I didn't expect them to beat Barnet, and they've still got to go to Chesterfield this weekend. They've got to go to us on the last game of the season, but to be honest with you, because they've got 46 points now, they only really need to pick up one more win. They've got Torquay, they've got Aldershot, so you'd expect them to pick 2 or 3 points up in the last few games. So I think they're safe, to be honest.
Yeah, I'd agree with you on that. Just on this game, though, I think Chesterfield have improved, haven't they, recently? Still struggling to break teams down, but what seems to be the case for them is once they found that goal, they just grow in confidence throughout the game. We saw that against Halifax. Took them a bit of time, had a bit of a shaky first 20 minutes, got that goal, and then they were fine. But I think that was the case against Maidenhead. They just couldn't find that goal. But, once you've found it, you're good. And that might be the only issue in this game. I think Chesterfield will win, though. I think they'll get the goal. I don't think it'll be an extreme win, but I think I'd be going for a comfortable 2-0 win, in my opinion. What's your take on this?
Yeah, I've gone similar. I think earlier, the Southend, you went 3-0 and I went 2-0. Well, this time you've gone 2-0, I've gone 3-0 because I've gone 3-0 Chesterfield. I think they'll comfortably win. I think they'll go into third. Are they already third? I should know that, really.
But it is on goal. No, it's at 1 point. Yeah, third.
No, I think it is goal difference. Yeah, they're on goal. Yeah. Or is it 1 point? Yeah, sorry. Yeah. But yeah, I think that they'll go third this weekend with a win, and a comfortable home win at that, I think.
Yeah, feels like they're a reformed side since the signings that they've made in McCallum, Dallas, another player, Clough. Since those players have come in, it's given them a massive boost. There was a chance that they could have dropped out of the playoffs at one point. I think they're on the verge of doing so. And then, those players have come in and they're like a different side now, scoring a lot more goals, defensively seem a lot more tighter as well. And it seems a lot more friendly around the club. I think at one point it felt like it was a bit toxic. players were getting a lot of stick. Paul Cook, there were talks about him potentially being sacked. But now I think the fans who stuck with him are probably laughing at those supporters because, in my opinion, I'm going to agree with you, Tom. I think they will get third. I think the strength in depth, the quality that I think they've got will show come the end of the season. And I think they have got a slightly easier run in them. I don't think they don't have to play either Wrexham or Notts County, where I think Woking have still got to play Notts County away from home, which they could take points off. Notts have proven that they can drop points to sides around them. But in my opinion, now I think Woking will finish fourth this season. Next game, then let's go to this one: Bournemouth v Dagenham. I'm just going to put it out there. I think Bournemouth will win 2-0. You don't know what to expect from Dagenham, though. I think it could come out wrong this one. It could be a case of Dagenham turn up here and get all 3 points, or it could just be a dull 2-0 win to Bournemouth. You don't really know what to expect from Dagenham, do you?
No, and I think it's that stage of the season for them now where they've got a new manager in. I think as well that they've got a new manager in. They're not sure who's going to be there next season, which players are going to still be there. He's already started clearing the players out. Obviously, Marias has come to us. Rance has gone to Scunthorpe. So they're already starting to lose some players. Some that probably would have wanted to keep, some that they want to get rid of. And it's that they're a side that their season's over, isn't it, really? Hate to say it. They're not going to get playoffs and they're definitely not going to get relegated. So it's all now about, for them, looking at next season. But Boreham Wood, I've also gone 2-0 Boreham Wood. So it's the first one we've completely agreed on. Boreham Wood, I think they're going to be fine in getting the playoffs. They also, like you mentioned earlier about the FA Cup run, they had a similar one this season. They went on a pretty good run, and it sort of derailed them a little bit. They've drawn quite a few games this season, but I think they'll be motivated to win here, and there's too much at stake for them at this point. Whereas with Dagenham, the game is now virtually meaningless in the context of the table. So, I think Bournemouth will win. Dagenham will make it a tough game, but I think they would take this one 2-0.
Yeah, Bournemouth are the most informed side in the division. Just behind Wrexham and Notts County, so third most informed side in the division at the moment. But like we say, Wrexham and Notts are in a league of their own at the moment. Dagenham, you can just tell that they know that the season's basically over. There's nothing for them to play for now. 1 win in 5, and that was an away win at Torquay. 2 defeats, but honestly, if you're a Dagenham fan, are you too disappointed that you're losing games like this? You're probably not. I think you're just wanting the season to end now for them. You just want this season to be over so they can rebuild next season. Let Ben Strevens have a full summer to bring in his own players and make those replacements, which I don't think they have for the players that they've lost, such as Junior Marias and Walker as well, who's left the club. I'm going for a 2-0 Bournemouth win. Do you think they could be the dark horse in the playoffs? I think we'll talk about this. If there's one team, we know Notts and Wrexham are one of those. Whoever it is going to be the favourites in the playoffs by some margin. But if there's any dark horse, and I look at those teams that could potentially cause a Notts or a Wrexham some problems, I'd be looking at Boreham, wouldn't me? Or would you have your eye on any other teams? I think Chesterfield, I'd come on to them in a second. But yeah, is there anyone for you in the playoffs that you think would be a massive dark horse?
No, I have to agree with you. I think from a Notts point of view, for me, if we do end up in the playoffs, Boreham Wood are the team I want to avoid. So I desperately hope they don't finish fifth. As I think it's fifth v sixth that get second.
It'd be it's 5th v 6th and 7th v 4th, but then it's
I think
we've Notts.
Oh, okay. Well. Yeah, I want to avoid Boreham Wood anyway because they're the team that always, or Bromley, if Bromley get in, because, again, Bromley on the other side, they just always seem to give us a really tough game. Stylistically, they just are a complete nightmare for us. They're such physical sides. I would rather play any of the other teams in there. I know that Barnet have taken points off us, so have Chesterfield, and Woking might take points off us when they play us, but Boreham Wood and Bromley, they're 2 sides we haven't beaten this season. And I think, like you say, on the day, they can beat anyone. And there's sides where they're so defensively good that in the playoffs, they're all going to be tight games. So you need that. You need a defence that's tight, and Boreham would have conceded the fewest goals in the league, so you can't bet against them.
I think for me, in that playoffs, I have mentioned Bournemouth and the other side that if I was a Notts fan, I'd be saying, "Oh no, stay away from them," because you know that they're really good defensively, and Notts have a problem with seeming to break down teams. Have been a lot better this season, but there's still that in them where, as it's proven, they can sometimes struggle to break down teams such as Bournemouth, your Yeovils. They needed a bit of helping hand against Halifax, to be fair, because of that massive mistake. But if he's a side that if I was either Wrexham or Notts in the playoffs that I'd want to avoid, honestly, it'd be Chesterfield. And I think you would until the final for that one. But I have mentioned that I think they're a different team now. And I honestly think that they could compete with you guys in a one-off match with the players. Similar strength in depth, I think, now. They proved at the start of the season that they were a very good side for the first 10 or 11 games. Of course, drew against you guys. Were actually 2-0 up and beat Wrexham. So if there was a side that I'd be very, very fearful of in the playoffs, and I think it might be the obvious one, but it'd definitely be Chesterfield, because they're a side that I think in the playoffs I'm going to be backing to get promoted. I think either Notts or Wrexham, if you don't get promoted, it'd be so devastating and tiring that you haven't won this title, that in the playoffs you could fall at the final hurdle. What would your take be on that? Or would you'd like to think that Notts would just get the job done, or Wrexham would?
Yeah, normally I would say the team that finishes second will struggle, but I think these two teams are a little bit different. I think they've got the mentality to go again, and as the table shows, the difference in quality is massive. Like, they're so far ahead of the rest of the division. So I think obviously anything can happen in the playoffs, and who knows, maybe they would fall apart. But I think if they played their game, that they would comfortably win the playoffs. Chesterfield, obviously, from a Notts point of view, they always give us a tough game. But this season, we showed at their place. I just feel we have the better of them. I know that they were 2-0 up against. They should have won that game against us at Miller Lane, really. But I just feel we'd have the beating of them. And if we were in the playoffs, I would like to think that, I don't want to be overconfident, but I would like to think that we would win them. And a lot of Notts fans are nervous about it, but for me, I'm quietly confident we will be in League Two next season, because I think we're that good. But hopefully, they're not famous last words, and I completely get it wrong. But I think we have to be confident in a team that's going to get over 100 points. We have to go, surely.
Yeah. You've got, it'd be, like I said, it'd be so devastating if either side didn't get promoted this season. Ryan in the chat, who's a York fan, said, I think 4 more points would do it. 2-2 draw against Chesterfield. I can't see that many goals from your side, to be honest. But who knows, Ryan? You are on a high, aren't you, after that win against Barnet? And then Mr. Luke's put in an interesting question that I do want to leave until we do talk a bit about Yeovil. But of course, Tom, we were discussing this, wasn't we, on the group, on what Cooper had to say. But we'll talk about that when we do get onto that game. We'll just go back onto it now. But do you want to talk about that game, Yeovil v Aldershot? Because I think that's one of the games of the week, in my opinion.
Let's go for it. Yeah.
Just get it. Go ahead then.
Yeah, we can talk about the interview as well after. Yeah, I've gone for Aldershot 1, Yeovil 1. I think it's a big game down the bottom. I think Yeovil are in terrible form, so it might be a surprise I've gone for them to get a point here. But it's Witherington's first game, so I think it's going to take him time to get his ideas across, and I think Yeovil will bounce back. They need to bounce back, and I don't want to say they're going to bounce back because of that interview, because for me, I completely do not agree with what Mark Cooper did in that interview. I think it was terrible, to be honest. I've said as much on Twitter. I think it was absolutely terrible what he said and what he came out and did. But I think it might provoke a response, even if that was the wrong way to do it. I think it might provoke a response from Yeovil. And to be honest, they've got to respond, because losing 4-0 to the team that you probably were like the team that you needed to catch, it's such a poor way to go out, isn't it? So an Aldershot not in the best of form. I just think they'll cancel each other out, and I think Aldershot will take a point there, because as long as Torquay don't get a win, a point against Yeovil it's one less game that Yeovil can gain points on them. So I think Aldershot, maybe I'm wrong, maybe they won't take a point, but for the way I stand, if they can maintain a 5-point gap with one less game to play, then I think they take it at this point.
I think it will provoke a response. I'm going to agree with you on that. Josh Staunton, if anyone saw his interview after the game, he looked distraught, very angry. Not angry at the manager, which was a surprise, but I think angry with himself, with his players. I think he was trying to take responsibility for that. But, if there's any time for Yeovil to get a response, this is it. And I think they will do. They can't afford not to. Social media from the Yeovil end will be going crazy on Twitter. Let's put it this way, on Friday night, if they don't get anything from this game. But if you Aldershot, would you take a point from this game? Or do you think it's a case of, no, we've got to win? Because I think Aldershot win, they're safe. But if they don't and Yeovil get the win, then it's all to play for, in my opinion.
Yeah, they can't afford to lose because it hands the momentum and hands the initiative to Yeovil, and I think as well Torquay. I know you back them to get the points this weekend. They're in form, so they can't afford to lose the game. I could be completely wrong, but for me, I would take a point if I was Aldershot. I'd take it now because it means there's only 5 games to go. That's one less opportunity for teams to gain on them. I know they can't control the Torquay game, so if Torquay end up winning and they drew, it wouldn't be the best result, but they'd still be 4 points ahead with 5 games to go. I think a draw is a good. Don't get it wrong, you want to win, and against the sides that are below you, you've got to back yourselves to win at home against the side that's below you. But I think they take a draw personally.
I'm just shocked by how these two sides are the two sides, fighting out for relegation. Throughout the season, I don't think Yeovil or Aldershot, they've always just been above that main relegation scrap where you're in the thick of it. And then now, when it's so crucial that, you survive and you're picking up results, they're not doing. Gateshead and Dorking have proven that they're good enough to survive. I think this season, where at first, a lot of us were saying it's going to be either one of those. But I just want to ask you, Tom, that, did you watch that either of the Yeovil v Gateshead match, or did you watch the Southend v Yeovil match, either of those games? So ask you a bit on that.
Yeah, Gateshead Yeovil, I've caught the highlights of Gateshead Yeovil, yeah, last time out, yeah.
Yeah, what did you think of Yeovil on that?
Yeah, I thought credit has to go to Gateshead. They played really well. They scored some really good goals. Some cracking finishes and some beautiful team goals. But yeah, you're right. Yeovil, they seem to just have no fight in them. Especially, I think it's the second Gateshead goal. They have the ball in midfield and it just gets turned over, and it's just the poorest piece of play you'll see from a side that's so cheap. They just give the ball away. The passing, they're playing balls into players that are just impossible to control, and then gets turned over, and there's no fight in them to stop the goal. Stop the goal. So I'm really surprised by how messy they were, because they've looked organised at times this season, Yeovil, but it just seems in recent weeks that Cooper's just, I don't want to say he's overcomplicated things, but they've gone from being this side that was so organised and yeah, they didn't offer anything going forwards, but they might have nicked a goal on the break or something. They've gone from that to being a team that are just all over the place, and they can't string a pass together, never mind offering anything up front. And that sounds really harsh, and I hate being harsh on a team, but they've looked lost. They've looked really lost. I just quickly want to say on Aldershot before we move on. F. Young was the mistake for me there. It just proves you can't sell your goal scorer when you're not absolutely mathematically safe. I mean, since they've sold him, they've dropped off massively. And yeah, they might have got more money than they would have done in the summer. I'm not sure how long his deal was, but surely staying in the National League is worth more than how much they would have got for him, because if they do go down, I think they can pin it almost on that one decision, selling him, because it's completely derailed their season and derailed their momentum for Aldershot.
I think Aldershot fans will agree with me here. None of them, and I don't think any fan would want to lose your top goal scorer, but I think they're blaming the owner, and this is the problem with that. I think there's so many clubs in this division, a lot of sides that have it worse than others, but a lot of arguments with the owners, a lot of disputes against the owner. And Aldershot are just one of those clubs in the long line. Losing your top goal scorer in that manner is quite embarrassing, I think, as an Aldershot supporter, when you're not mathematically safe. And now it's coming back to bite them, to be honest. But we haven't mentioned this interview just as of yet. But Yeovil, and I asked you just a bit on what you thought of Yeovil, because, of course, you've probably seen the best of them when they came to Notts. Even away at Yeovil, they gave you quite a difficult game. But when I've seen Yeovil, I watched them against Southend. I watched the highlights of Tuesday night, and I saw them at Halifax as well. They were awful. And what I've thought of Yeovil ever since they've come down, no matter where they finish, they'll always give you a game. They're always well organised. They've got some good individuals in there. Maybe not the best team in the world, but what they do is they play well as a team. The likes of Josh Thornton, the goalkeeper Smith, that's a strong defence. But even that strong defence that they've had throughout the season, they've been losing, and they look like they're lacking confidence. They look like they're not even putting the effort in at the moment. It's very, I think, as a Yeovil fan, I go as far to say it's quite distressing watching this at the moment. To be honest, I wouldn't be wanting to see this team week in, week out. But although they got a point at Halifax, it was gifted to them. The signings that they made in the summer, although they haven't been in this position throughout the season, they're another side that I don't think invested well enough in the summer. I like the look of the likes of Linton and Fisher, but I don't think they've proven out to be as good as what it looked like at first. Linton, I thought, from Wickham, looks a strong player. I like the look of that. And he does look like a really good footballer, but he just hasn't been prolific like everyone's expected him to be. But they just looked so poor. And I'd be very, very concerned as a Yeovil fan. But Tom, just for the benefit of everyone who's listening, we'll ask people in the live chat if you're watching as well. What were your thoughts on that interview that you did after the game?
Yeah, I thought it was terrible the way he came out and came at the fans. I think it's one thing to have a go at his players. I think he's entitled to. I think the players have let him down. Let's not shy away from that. To come at the owners, the new owners, he said they're not sort of alluded to, they've not backed him. But they've added players. They've added players who, in my opinion, are okay. They're not the players he wanted. They are players that I believe have quality. But they haven't taken away players that he had. So there's no real players that he had there that he was getting results with. Unless I missed a load of sales, I don't think they've sold loads. So he could still use the players that have got him the decent results. But to come at the fans and say, well done to the proper fans that came tonight. Well, it's a 6.5 hour journey from Yeovil to Gateshead. It was a Tuesday night, so you'd have to take Tuesday afternoon off work at the very least, probably the whole day, to get there for kickoff. Then you wouldn't get back till 4 a.m. in the morning, 5 a.m. So you're probably taking the next day off work as well. How many people can afford to do that? And how many fans can you expect to do that when the performances week in, week out are rubbish, and then they've proven right when they've lost 4-0 anyway? So to come at the fans and say, "Oh, the proper fans, well done," maybe he's not meant it to come across that way, but it comes across as a dig at the fans that haven't turned up. And I think they took over 100, which I think is a crazy amount for that night, for those circumstances. So yeah, I think what he said is out of order, to be honest, from him. And I'm surprised there's not been more made of it since, especially from the club themselves. I'm surprised there's not been, more come of it.
I'm surprised he's still got a job, to be honest. At first, I actually liked the appointment, but it's just not proved to plan out as everyone expected. Even with the ownership, the takeover, I thought, that's going to keep them up now, having that takeover. The players that they've brought in, they have brought in a few players. The likes of Scott Pollock as well, a highly rated player in the Football League. I don't think you can totally blame the owners. They've only just come in. It's not just about on the field issues. It's also off the field. There's, I think, probably been a lot of debt to play as well because of the previous owner, who we don't really need to talk too much about. But I think it's difficult when straight after the game, emotions are high, to come and do an interview, and just to say that interview from Yeovil was very good, but brutal as well with those questions. And it's very hard to obviously answer those when emotions are high. But as a manager like him, with such a, so established as well, I think in his position, you'd be expecting him to be used to that, answering questions like that in difficult situations. And to mention calling the ones who went the proper fans, I think it's very insulting to the whole of the Yeovil fan base, and it won't do them any good at all. If you're wanting to take positives at all, try give the whole club a boost after that, which is what they need with the final few games. Then you can't be saying stuff like that, to be honest. And I thought Thursday were actually having a dig at the fans who went up, because they were saying the ones who don't complain are the proper fans. They know the situation. But I know for a fact there were a few Yeovil fans booing at full time, which you would expect. Anyway, we've talked about this game for God knows how long now, so we'll move on to the next game. And we'll quickly have a look at what people have said. So Ryan, who's a Scunthorpe fan, said, if Scunny win, I might do a lap of the Athletics track. Oh yeah, copy the Oldham fans. And then morning from Australia, boys. I'm actually nervous about Halifax over not taking points off us. Yeah, you should be tomorrow, mate. I'm only joking. We've next got James. Tom's got to be one of the better lower league journalists at the moment. Keep up the good work, mate. Cheers for your comment, James. And then we've also had Ryan. Yeovil looked good against Scunny on opening day, but then again, so did Scunny, laughing. Yeah, and then we've had a Rochdale fan who's in. I think they all seem to be getting ready at the moment. There's been a few Rochdale fans that have popped up in the chat. But YouTube is taking the piss, recommending me non-league content. I'm not ready for the National League yet. You'll love it when you're down here, pal. You'll be here for a very long time. Just ask Tommy how long Knots have been here. We'll move on to the next game. What game do you want to go to?
Let's go Barnet, Bromley. Just the next game down. Playoff clash. Yeah, very good game. Yeah, all playoff clash. I can't remember what I've said for this, to be honest. This is such a close game.
You went for a Bromley win.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, you went for Bromley win 2-1.
Yeah, Bromley win. Wow. 2-1. I've gone. Yeah. I think that Barnet are in mixed form, and I think that they're in an inevitable slump because they have overperformed this season. I think that the goals conceded stat is slightly false for them because they had such a poor defensive start. They've got a lot better there, and they're a really good team. But I think Bromley will just get the playoffs. I definitely predict them to get the playoffs. I think I predicted them 5th, and they're some way shy of that. But but they are a really strong team, as we've seen. Both of these teams have taken points off Notts in recent weeks, so I've seen it firsthand. They're both very strong sides. I just fancy Bromley to get something here, and I just fancy Bromley to go on a really good run now and secure that 7th place. I don't know who drops out. I don't want to predict who drops out because it's so tough, but I just do fancy Bromley to do it, and I think. Look, I could be completely wrong, but they've got a decent away record. I think it's 7th best in the league, and they're in okay form as well. So I think the 7th best. So I think Barnet obviously are good at home as well. So it's a tough game. It could go either way, but I've just gone for Bromley.
I think there'll be a lot of goals. Both sides have a lot of goals in them, especially Bromley recently as well. Adam Marriott and Michael Cheek. At the start of the season, it didn't seem to go into plan that the two up top, Michael Cheek wasn't as prolific as we expected. But, this second half of the season, I think they've got 22 goals between themselves now, which doesn't sound like a lot at the start of the season, but it is, considering the majority of those goals have come in the second half of the season. Away at Barnet, who have been a bit shaky, might be a little bit nervous at the moment in their position. But I'm gonna for a 2-2 draw. I think it has a lot of goals in it this game. With Kabamba up top for Barnet and other players around there too. I can't pronounce his name, but it's like a Dutch name. And he played for England C and scored the other week. Tom, you'll know who that is. But Bromley as well. Scott seems to be scoring a lot of goals. So yeah, I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw, which I don't think either side would be too disappointed with. But would you? I know you've mentioned that Barnet are a bit shaky at the moment. And I know you've basically just said you don't really want to comment on who could drop out. And I'm not saying that Barnet will or you think they will, but Do you think there's any possibility that they could drop out, or do you think that they're fine now, 7 points clear of being outside the playoffs?
Yeah, if they weren't playing Eastleigh this weekend, Bromley this weekend, I would say they're fine. But that's a big game because the 7 points is almost halved then if they lose that. So I think they'll be fine. I think they'll be fine. They've still got to play Wrexham, which unless they pull something out of the bag, it's sort of a game you almost. I don't want to say they write it off because you could have said that about Notts and they got a point there, but I don't want to get my hopes up with any teams taking points on Wrexham, to be honest, because every time I get my hopes up, Wrexham seem to smash them. So I think they'll be fine. I think it'll be close though, but they'll bounce back. I think the weekend was a blip, and I know I've said Bromley to win it this weekend, but they've got Maidstone to play, Maidenhead, Dagenham last game of the season at home. Dagenham last game of the season was pretty good last game, isn't it? So I think they'll be fine.
Yeah, I'll agree with you on that. What games have we got then now? I think there's 3 remaining. Let's go to the Lancashire derby. I shouldn't have said that. Maybe Oldham fans will have a go. But no, it is a derby because of the distance. Both sides are in similar positions. Altrincham, it's going to be interesting to see how they react after the FA Trophy defeat. Of course, they were playing Cheshire Cup action. I don't know how serious they actually take that or not. They're playing against Oldham away from home. Good day out for them, probably Oldham away. How do you see this one going? I think it's going to be interesting to see how Altrincham bounce back after such a horrid defeat to Halifax.
Yeah, so I've got them written down 1-1. Yeah, 1-1. Yeah, Altrincham, I know, terrible for them because they probably. I hope you don't mind me saying this. Probably deserve to win that game, and I know you're still going on that. So, and Altrincham are a side I love watching play in this division. They play some great stuff, and they deserve to be. For me, I can't say they deserve to be high on the table because you are where you deserve to be. But I think next season they'll do a lot better. And I think Oldham will as well. To be fair, they've had again poor result last time against Wrexham. You're not expecting to get anything against Wrexham while you're away, but to get battered the way they did. Probably didn't. Well, it didn't go down very well with the Oldham fans to know that. And Unsworth, he's under a little bit of pressure, to be fair, especially from their own fans. So they need a result. But I think at home, I think both teams will take a draw. It's one of those games where Oldham is safe pretty much already anyway, and Altrincham definitely are safe. So it's almost one of those games where I think they'll cancel each other out.
I'm gonna agree with you on that. I don't want to talk too much about the Halifax. Well, I do want to, but I understand that no one here actually wants to listen to me go on any further than what I already have done about that game. But not talking about Halifax now on that game, but Altrincham, based off that, they was a very, very good side. They're the best Altrincham side that I've seen since I've been seeing Halifax play against them since I've started watching football. Some of the individuals in that team, Welsh Hayes, I think it is, on the right-hand side, was very, very good for them. Oyeleki, I think it is. It's something like that in the midfield. I can't remember who he came from now, but he's in the midfield. Sinclair looked good. Jordan Hume, you know what to expect from him. And Yeovil as well looked good. They just didn't put the ball in the net. But they looked a really good side. And on their day, they could give somebody a hiding, in my opinion. And they probably should have given Halifax a hiding. Kept the ball very, very well. But I think Altrincham, they seem to be a lot better at home this season than what they do away with that side. Away from home at Oldham will be needing a response. I'm going to go for a draw like you. I'm going to go something different. We'll go for a 2-2 draw. I think it screams goals again, maybe in that game with the attackers that Oldham have got now. I think with the likes of Reid, Fond up as well for them. I'm going to go for a draw, I think, in that game. 2-2 draw. Next game that we will have a look at then. Let's have a look at... I think it's this one now that we'll be having a look at. Yeah, Gateshead v Scunthorpe. As Mr. Luke liked to say, last chance saloon for Scunthorpe. I think they have to win every single game now if they want to survive this season. Gateshead, you'll be wanting to win this match. I still don't think they're safe. They are virtually safe, but if they win this match, then I think they could probably lose more or less every match and they'd still be safe. To be honest, They need about 2 wins, Gateshead, and they're fine. You'd be expecting them to win this at home, but it wouldn't surprise me if Scunthorpe turned up here and actually got something. Of course, Scunthorpe beat them in the reverse fixture. How do you see this game going?
Yeah, I've gone 3-1 to Gateshead. I think I've spoken about Gateshead quite a lot on Twitter. They're a side I really like. Again, like Altrincham, I really like watching Gateshead play. They play some great stuff. And I feel a bit guilty because we took their 2 main strikers in the summer, and they struggled to deal with that initially. But since then, they've come on strong late, and they've come on strong at the right time. And they've still got 8 games to play, haven't they? So they've got so many games in hand, and sometimes that can work against you. But they've got time. They've got an FA Trophy final now. They played so well in that game. They played so well against Yeovil. They're scoring loads of goals, full of confidence. I think going to the trophy final can only give you confidence, really, can't it? I think it's not going to take away from it. So, yeah, I think they'll win. I think they'll win quite fairly big as well. And what's great for them is they were forced to play a week inside in the trophy because of the cup-tied players and the injuries and things. So they had a load of players come in on Tuesday who were fresh, and I think they can do the same again this weekend. They can rotate, and they've got a strong team. They really do, and they're way better than where they are in the league. Way better.
It's changed from a dull, boring, tense season where they could potentially go down and looking like, I think I won't mention his name, but a Gateshead fan put on Twitter, I've really not enjoyed this season at all. And I think it was after a Gateshead defeat. I think they hadn't scored in 3 games or something. We've been awful throughout the season. We've been out of depth. And then now it's changed into a perfect season. It's transitioned into this great season where they've got a proven goal scorer now because Dinanga's scoring goals for them, which is something that they've lacked all season. They had that spell with Danny Elliott, lost him, and then now they've found a replacement for him in Dinanga. They seem to be doing a lot better on the ball, performances-wise. They've even got an FA Trophy final trip to Wembley, which must have given the players such a boost. And they're virtually safe, especially if they win this game. I think they are safe, and Scunthorpe would be down, which in my opinion would be very sad. And I think the majority of non-league fans don't want to see Scunthorpe go down, but I think it will be the case if they do fail to get anything from Gateshead, and even if they got a point, I think they'd be going down. I'm going to agree with you though, Tom. I've been going for a Gateshead 2-1 win. I think they'll be able to get past Scunthorpe, in my opinion. What's your actual prediction?
I think I've gone 3-1 Gateshead. I think I went for. 3-1 Gateshead. I've gone.
Right, I think we are on to the final 2. So we'll quickly have a look at the live chat. Someone said, just unsubbed, Luke, how dare you call it a derby? I hope you haven't. Someone said, Fondop suspended for 4 games after Wrexham. Oh, that's a bit of bad news, I think, for you. James here, who's a Halifax fan, a Halifax ultra, Shaman to do Notts a favour tomorrow. I can feel it. Yeah, let's hope so, Jim. Up the Shaman. Luke's coming and said, Luke, how many times have you watched back that last-minute winner against Altrincham? You asked me this on Monday. I think I'm on track for 400 at the moment. Someone said, optimism says 1-0 Scunny, realism says 8-1 Gateshead. 8-1, that's a bit harsh. And then someone said, I'm off now, lads. Enjoy. Hopefully see you Wembley. Wrexham, Tom. Yeah, he must be a Notts fan. And then Lucy said, what was your first memory as a Notts fan, Tom? Yeah, go on, Tom, answer that question.
Well, it's tough, but I think probably when Lee Hughes came in was when I first started, going to the game. So probably one of his early hat tricks. It was a while ago, a long time ago now, so I probably got it wrong. But I'm sure he scored an early hat trick and as a young lad. So probably my first memory.
Luke's come in and said Scunthorpe will put up a fight. I would think we will do it this time, saying 3-1. No, of course I haven't, mate. Top class guy, watch you every week. Cheers for that. I was only joking. 1-2, then last 2. Where do you want to go first? Halifax v Wrexham or Notts v Wealdstone?
Let's go Notts. I know you want to talk about Halifax, so we can keep Notts fairly briefish. I don't want to overlook Wealdstone.
You can talk about it as long as you want, Paul. I think there's still a lot to talk about in this game. A banana skin, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't want to overlook Wealdstone, but I've actually gone quite big. I've gone Notts 4-1, which I don't want to be just because I love Wealdstone. Like I said with Altrincham and Gateshead, that said it for third game in a row now. But Wealdstone on another side, those are probably my three favourite sides as a neutral that I like to watch because they play really good possession based passing football, and what Stuart Maynard's doing there on a part time basis is just unbelievable. And I think they're bringing over 300. I think Paul said they're bringing which is amazing support to bring that to Meadow Lane. I think that, that'll be fantastic to see tomorrow. I'm looking forward to going. But I think we'll have too much for them. I really hope we don't overlook it because of Monday. Monday obviously is looming very large, and we can't overlook it. Such a big game. But we have to get past Wealdstone first. There's no point going into Monday if we're 6 points behind, because then it's over. So we've got to make sure we do our bit, and I think we will. I think we'll get the job done. I think we'll get it done early. I think we'll have a quick start. I think they might score. That's why I've gone 4-1. But I think as well, the biggest talking point, and I'm not going to try and predict a team because it's going to be so hard to predict, but I'm really interested to see who makes the bench tomorrow because Scott and Mariah are coming back from injury, hopefully. And who does he pick to start? Because we'll probably learn a lot about who's going to play against Wrexham because we don't know who's going to start in goal. We don't know who's going to start in midfield. So it's a lot of questions that come 2 o'clock tomorrow when the team's announced. A lot more of the pieces will start falling into place.
Yeah, I was on a Wrexham podcast the other day, and we were talking about the Halifax match, but of course they were also talking about this Notts game, and they were asking me a bit like, "Oh, who's going to start for Notts?" And I was similar with you, Tom. I said it's very hard to tell because you've got this game. You've mentioned as Junior Mariah. I don't think he's actually been in a Notts shirt, has he yet? It'll be his debut against Wealdstone.
Yeah, hopefully he can come on because that'd be massive having him or Scott, either of them on the bench, just have a bit of threat off the bench against Wrexham because at the minute, even though we've got such amazing options, and I think one of Austin or Jones is going to miss out against Wrexham. That's the only sub we've really got to bring on attacking threat wise. So it'd be a big boost, and yeah, it'd be nice for him to make his debut at Meadow Lane. So hopefully he's fit enough to come on. Sorry.
Yeah, he was a good player for Dagenham. Prior to that, was it Bournemouth? I think he was at prior to that. It was good for them as well. I think he's a good addition for Notts. Adds a bit more depth because although we talk about Notts and Wrexham, we say, they're miles above everyone else. They've got more depth, more facilities, more players as well, like we've said with depth. I also, more resources, but I also look at Notts and I look at, I always see that, no, they haven't got as much depth as everyone thinks they have. They haven't spent as much money as everyone thinks they have. And I think adding something like that going forward in Junior Mariah goes a long way. Someone who also adds goals to them as well, because it's okay having a good, strong starting 11, but if a player gets injured, like we've seen, then a side's going to struggle. And I think Notts would, if any significant player got injured, they would. But adding these additions like Mariah, I think, do go a long way if you did have any significant injury. And I think as well for the long term as well, it's a good move for Mariah, and I think it's a good deal for Notts County as well. And like you've mentioned, I think it could be a chance for him to start if he is coming back from injury in tomorrow's game. For me, though, in this game, I'm going to be back in Notts. So it's just gone off, but I'm going to be back in Notts. Wealdstone are out of form at the moment. No winning 4 for them. I think it'll be no winning 5 come 5 p.m. tomorrow. I'm going to go for a 4-0 Notts County win. Wealdstone do look very, very poor at the moment, to be fair. But I do think we're on the final game now, if I can actually get it up here by around there. Have you got else you want to say on that Notts Wealdstone game, or are you happy for us to move on?
No, we can move on. I think we've said everything on that game, but hopefully it's not a banana skin. I'll be there, so hopefully I'll see a win for Notts.
Have you got a good record of seeing Notts County this season when you managed to get to the games?
Yeah. Well, I was I was at Dorking. That was the first away game I went to, so that was bad because we lost. But other than that, I've gone unbeaten other than that game because I was out of the country for Dagenham. So we can't complain. We've only lost 2 games all season, so it's been pretty good.
Bloody hell, all questions are coming in for you tonight, Tom. We've got another one here. Hey Tom, how many county shirts do you have in your collection? Must be a fair few. Yeah, how many do you have then, Tom?
I'm actually not. I don't really wear football shirts, so I haven't got any. Haven't got any shirts. I've got my new jumper on today. So Notts County jumper there. So yeah, but I don't actually wear actual shirts. Yeah.
I've got Joe's coming. I agree with Tom. Morris coming off the bench could make a big difference. Sometimes you need a spark to change games coming off the bench. And on to the final game then now. Halifax versus Wrexham. Biggest crowd in a number of seasons for Halifax. Our record at the Share in recent years, I think, was 7,854, I think it was, against Chorley. I haven't made those numbers up. I think I've just memorised it. And that was a playoff final in the league below. There's a chance, I think a big possibility, that we could be breaking that record tomorrow. Wrexham are guaranteed to bring over 4,000. I think it's likely to be 4,500, I think, with those extra tickets that they've got. And there's talks that Halifax is going to be a larger home support than what we firstly anticipated. Tom, do you want to have your thoughts on this game, like your own preview, and is there a chance that Halifax can get something against Wrexham? And if there is a chance that we can, how do you think we can stop Wrexham tomorrow?
Yeah, well, I'll let you do most of the talk on this one because obviously it's your side. But I've gone for Wrexham 2-0. I think they'll have just too much, and part of it's because I don't want to get my hopes up at this point. But the way you can get points off them for me is the way you did against Altrincham, which is you do have an ability to hang in there, to hold on. And I think that's what you need to do. If they get a goal early, they're going to run away with it. You need to stick with them. Even if you go one down, like you did against Oldham, you need to stick with them, and you've got a chance late on. You know, that Millie Alley goal was unbelievable, and I know you've been watching it on repeat this week. But you've got to stick with them. You've got to hope you can nick something late, because they are a team that can run away with games like they did against Oldham. So, yeah, you're good defensive. Look, you've been good defensively last year, and obviously not as good this year, but still solid. So you've got that on your side. You've just got to hope to be as solid as possible, I think.
We need to play the best we've played all season, and we need Wrexham to have one of the worst performances they've had all season. But Joe's come in and said kick them. Yeah, I wish we could do that, but we're not playing in the 90s, unfortunately. But no, this game, you've mentioned that, and you've mentioned we can't afford to go 1-0 down. And if we do, we need to stay in that game as long as possible. But no side in this division wants to go 1-0 down against any side, but especially Wrexham. But for Halifax, you don't, they're another, especially with Halifax as well, because we do awful coming from behind. Very rarely we ever come back from behind and get anything. Of course, we did it at Altrincham, but that was a bit of a shock, I think. And it was out of nothing, to be fair. But against the Wrexham side, if we concede early, it'll be a cricket score. We'll lose 3-0, we'll lose 4-0. It'll be something stupid like that, and it'll be one of the best away days Wrexham will have all season. The longer the game goes on, the more chance that we've got of getting something from this game. Even if we score early, I'd still rather just the game go on longer than us actually scoring early, because Wrexham always seem to instantly get back into games when they've had that kick up the backside, to be honest, against these sides. I think in this one, if it's 0-0, 60 minutes or so has gone, there's a chance we can get something from this game. But like I've said, the longer the game goes on, there's more chance we've got. But if Wrexham score early, it's going to be a cricket score. We need to, I think, avoid set pieces, because Wrexham seems to be very strong from that. They're not just a good footballing side. We know they're very good in the air. They're not as easy on the eye as Notts County, but they're very good in the air. And they have that never say die attitude. They're relentless through games. They find ways to win. Everything that you want in the team Wrexham have in this division. But I still have a possibility after that boost against Altrincham, with a bigger crowd than we firstly thought, and the players are probably expecting, we have got a chance in this game. And maybe I'm being a bit biased in this, but I look at the sides that Wrexham have dropped points to: Yeovil, York, of course, both a long time ago. But they've proven that they can drop points to these so-called weaker sides in the division. And if we can catch them on an off day, when all the pressure's on them and none on us because we're virtually safe, I think we can get something from this game, especially with that boost after the Altrincham result. Tom, you're gonna stop me positive spirit now because you're gonna give a prediction to Wrexham, I would believe.
Yeah, I've gone 2-0 Wrexham. I think it, because you're a good side defensively. I've gone for it to be a bit tighter, but I have had to go for a Wrexham win, 2-0.
You'd be silly not to, which I certainly am. I'm going for a 1-1 draw. If I get it, I look like a right smart ass. But if I don't, then I won't, unfortunately. Which honestly, I don't think we will. But I do have a slight feeling that we could get something from it. Like you mentioned, we're very good defensively, and the likes of Jesse Debra and Stott. There seems to be a proper partnership there that's been lacking all season. Even Lee said Halifax will beat us. Yeah, I can see why you've said that. Someone's come in and said, I have been a not season ticket holder for 30 years and couldn't get a Wrexham ticket. Tom, were you lucky enough? Tom, did you get a ticket?
Yeah, I was very, very lucky, but I've got a ticket, so I'll be there on Monday. Yeah, so very lucky.
It's like a golden ticket, isn't it? That managing to get to that game. But yeah, someone else has come in. So sorry, mate. Cannon and Barrett change our style. We're a different side before York away. Yeah, I was expecting something like that, to be fair. But we've got to stay positive as Halifax fans. But yeah, the likes of Cannon now, that midfield, they were talking about it as well on a few Wrexham podcasts now, the Cannon O'Connor and Elliot Lee in midfield, that's deadly. And with the strike force that they've got as well, yeah, I think Wrexham will be confident going into this game. But I do see it as a bit of a banana skin. We've been playing Wrexham for years, both been in this division for a long time now, and there's been a lot of draws between the two sides, a lot of 1-0s, 0-0s, etc. We'll wrap things up, but someone's coming. Tom, enjoy your day in Wrexham. It'll be a long drive home afterwards. That'll be a Wrexham fan saying that. Before we do wrap things up, Tom, do you want to give your page a plug?
Yeah, it's just Tom H. Williams 23 on Twitter. I think it's there in the name bar. Yeah. So that's it for me.
Brilliant. Cheers for joining me once again, Tom. If anyone does want to go and see him, I would suggest doing so. Some great content on there, very analytical based and statistics that you want to get your hands on, to be honest. And Tom provides that as well with Analyst Bar. Like I mentioned at the start of the podcast, cheers for tuning in. Of course, now I am actually getting paid doing this, which is a bit of a privilege, but it's all because thanks to you guys. If you are watching this, you basically are paying me without actually paying anything. But if you do want to support the channel any further, then you can do. There's like some thanks button or something like that. I'm not begging, but if you do want to, it's totally up to you. I understand it is a difficult time. All money goes straight back into the podcast. Tom, once again, thank you for joining me. Thank you to everyone that's tuned in. And I will see you on Sunday evening for Monday's preview. Bye for now.